If I wanted to build muscle in 2025, here's exactly what I do. First of all, I get myself a training program. If I didn't know how to program, I'd use ChatGPT. So I put into ChatGPT that I'm looking to train 4 times a week. I prefer personally an upper-lower split because I want a little bit more of a balance throughout the body, and I would get it to program for me. I would understand that this is going to be pretty generic programming, but I'd also know that if I execute this program pretty well and drive enough intensity to my training, I'm still going to build muscle. Once I had my program from ChatGPT, every gym session I would track exactly how much weight I did and how much reps I did. And I would be trying to progress that over time. I would be really meticulous if I wanted to maximize my results in the gym and not just pretend that I remember last week's numbers, because let's be honest, who remembers last week's 12 reps on a tricep extension that went down to 10 reps? If you do, fair play to you, you're a better man than I am. When I'm training, I would be taking videos to see how hard I am training. If my sets weren't actually slowing down a lot towards the end and I wasn't really exerting much energy, I would be focusing on putting more effort into my training. So many guys will try to train 5 to 6 times a week and their sessions will be a pretty average intensity, rather than if they just train 4 solid, close to failure sessions a week, they would probably make more progress, they'd recover better, and they feel overall more driven with their training. Once I had the training locked down, I'm following a training program, I'm hitting the intensity that I wanted, and I'm tracking it religiously, then I would move on to my nutrition. I would be doing this at the same time, by the way, but I would be aiming for a 300 calorie surplus, and I would be assessing my body composition over time, seeing have my scale weight metrics gone up, seeing am I seeing any difference in transformation photos, and I would be making adjustments based off that. I would give myself at least 6 months of solid gaining before I started to go into like a fat loss phase or anything else like that. Most people do not give themselves enough time gaining. 9 months, even a year gaining can be really beneficial, but if you're thinking you're going to gain a massive amount of muscle in 12 weeks, you probably want to rethink that strategy. 12 weeks is enough to notice some gains for sure, but to actually see some proper gains, you really want a 6-month commitment here. A big mistake people make when they're looking to gain muscle is they give themselves permission to binge on foods to try and make up the calories if they didn't eat enough throughout the day. I would not do this. I would not just eat cookies and biscuits to try and make up my calories all the time, because you end up sleeping worse, you end up recovering worse, and you end up just not driving that same intensity to them training sessions that you really need to maximize the results that you get in the gym. So I would be making sure that majority of my food is nutrient dense food with simple carbohydrates put around my workout. So stuff that's quite easy to eat, like dates, honey, jellies and stuff like that, or as they call them in Australia, lollies, which I'm still struggling to get around the same. So once I have my training locked in place, I have my nutrition, following a nutrition structure that's mostly nutrient dense foods with a 300 calorie surplus, then I would move on to my recovery strategies, such as like sleep and stress management. I would be trying to reduce the amount of blue light exposure I have in the evening so I can get good quality sleep and get my 8 to 9 hours that will help me to recover. In terms of managing stress of life, personally, I would have some kind of a breathwork practice into my routine, whether that's meditation or some like Wim Hof breathing or anything like that. As I do think it's going to help with emotional regulation and also recovery overall. So that means if you're recovering better, you're managing stress better, you're going to be able to drive more intensity to your training. I also wouldn't look past the importance of my environment. And when I say that, I mean the environment that I'm training. So I'd try to find a good gym that really pushes me on to be a better version of myself and trains hard. I also look to have people around me that are on the same journey as me so I can fulfill my need for connection outside the party. That's one big barrier that a lot of Irish guys will face when it comes to getting the results they want in the gym. When they start to move away from the session and the drinking and the partying, they struggle to meet their need for connection outside of that because they do not have enough friends that are on the same journey as them. If not least, I would take 5 grams of creatine every day. And if I was deficient in vitamin D or I didn't get much sunlight, I would also consider supplementing that. Vitamin D can be helpful for our immune system. Creatine can be helpful for energy production, helps us perform better also when sleep deprived. Just to summarize that, I get a training program in place. I would track that program religiously. I would drive enough intensity towards my training. I would create a calorie surplus, mostly from nutrient dense foods, and putting a lot of fast acting carbohydrates around my workouts. I would prioritize good quality sleep, reducing the blue light exposure before bed. I try get into an environment that is conducive to my goals. That's in the gym, but also outside the gym. So I look to find people that are on the kind of same journey to me, than always being surrounded by people that are going to be out drinking and stuff like that. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just if you want to achieve this goal, you need to branch out to people that do not drink as much, more than likely. I hope you found that video helpful. If you did, drop a comment below, hit a little like. Any little bit of engagement helps me, so I would appreciate it. And if you do have any questions, you can drop me a message on Instagram at Coach Dermo. I will chat to you soon.